Terry Holloman, how you doing, buddy?
I'm good. Zach Burns, how are you?
I'm good. It was fun TV watching today.
Yeah.
I as soon as I woke up, there was Joe Biden, the new president, talking to us like, "Hey, everybody, Americans, maybe you have something to look forward to." That
Yes,
was refreshing.
all of you. Not just one side, not just the blue or the red, but all of you.
Yeah.
It
Well,
was very interesting.
I do have to say that because one of his lines is, and this isn't something he created, was I'm not just the president of people who voted for me. I'm president for everybody, and which is great. That's the sort of unifying message that this country absolutely needs. But then also is like, well, I hope we get a little bit extra special treatment for voting for him, just like a little bit.
Just a little, man. We asked. I mean, we're the ones that put you there, man. Help us out.
If everybody's getting $1,400, maybe we get like $1,410. Something.
I want the
just
whole
something.
two.
You want the full two?
Stacks. Yeah, I want the extra 6. I tell you, Zach, this is crazy. So, I honestly, last night I couldn't sleep, and I don't know if it was just the effect of the inauguration coming up. Inauguration. Me and my daughter just had this conversation about that word. But anyways, I couldn't sleep, and I was up watching TV at 2:00 in the morning, and I just couldn't go back to sleep. And
what are you watching it to in the morning,
dude? So infomercials. No, so there was
infomercials.
Infomercials. There's actually a show. I hate to even say that I admit that I watch it. But it's a show called on MSNBC called damn, I forgot the name of it now. Just that fast. So I saw the tip of my tongue. Way Too Early.
Oh, I've watched it.
Way Too Early.
Yes, and that means way too early on the East Coast.
So imagine exactly.
Yeah.
So
way too early for you.
Precedes Morning Joe. So yeah, I was up watching that, man, and I just couldn't go back to sleep.
Yeah, we talked yesterday, and I love being wrong. I know that a lot of people who do this hate it. I love it because I didn't want. Yesterday, I was saying, inaugurations are sort of an antiquated thing, and they kind of just feed this, this cult of persona more than anything. Like, you have all these people out just worshiping this person who's about to take the oath of office. Today, Joe Biden, to his credit, I will say, did not talk about himself at all. He talked about all of us. And I think today was great. It was fantastic. It wasn't boring, which, let's face it, that's the greatest sin in the world. And you had Lady Gaga bringing us back with a national anthem. She did. I think people forget she is actually a tremendous vocalist. No one's ever going to beat Whitney.
Vocalist. Yeah, nobody's going to beat Whitney. Lady Gaga, never. In her own rights and her own respect, is incredible as well, though. So we away from her.
We have had that. Joe did. I remember. I've been corrected 8 million times that you shouldn't call the president Bush or Clinton. It should always be Mr. Bush or Mr. I feel like Joe would be totally cool with just being Joe.
I'm sure he would.
So
yeah,
forevermore, I'm just going to refer to him as Joe. Joe got up and did I thought a really humbled, outreaching, good. It's not inspirational. I can't think of any particular quotes other than one we just discussed, which isn't a Biden original. But it was like these past 4 years and this past year specifically. Damn, we've just really turned on each other, and a lot of that came from desperation and hopelessness and everything. And Joe Biden is not ever going to be, I think, in the argument of should he be the next face on Mount Rushmore? But maybe he's just kind of the guy we need right now. He's just, I'm going to do my best to make 2021 a bit better for all of you.
Yeah.
And that was great.
Yeah, absolutely. I believe that he is the right guy for the job right now. as we transition to the next stage, of wherever we're going to go here with this country. I think we just have been so hardened and desensitized over the last 4 years that we forget what it's like to have somebody leading us that is pretty even keeled.
Boring. Let's call it boring. It's great.
It's boring. It's boring absolutely it's boring. It's nothing exciting about Joe when he gets up there and talking, and there's nothing that really makes you get excited, like in his tone or his pitch or anything at all. That being said, I think that is exactly what we need right now as a country, because we started off this thing 4 years ago to the day with the conversation about American carnage.
Yeah.
And basically, like, it was like smoke in the city and blood in the streets, and there was not like I'm taking myself back to the feeling that I had during the inauguration 4 years ago of Donald Trump, and there was no feel good in it whatsoever. Like, there was no like, this is my plan, this is my direction for the country, to make everyone come together, for us to grow as one, and for us to have this pride. It was just like, no, I alone. I'm about to run the show, and we're gonna unleash holy hell on everything.
Yeah,
and that's what they did. And again, I think it's a welcome boredom that we're gonna give to Joe for a while.
He's gonna be,
but
it's
gonna
boring.
be down to business. I think they're gonna be getting down to business.
People have to work hard to convince themselves that he is worthy of hate. Even those who get paid to do it. There's Tucker Carlson, Jason Rants. Hey, buddy. And, all these people who it's their job. They have to gin up these sort of, these angering talking points. And I just don't, you have to work super, super hard to generate those sort of emotions when it comes to Joe. You just, if you hate him right now, or if you hated him on January 6th, by March, I just don't think that feeling's going to linger. I don't think he's the type of person who really will instigate the right or the QAnon folks or anybody who didn't vote for him. He's been, he's a career politician for sure. And I know that's a negative for a lot of people, and I get that. But that also means that he's worked with Republicans for his entire life, and he's going to continue to do so. And I don't just mean Republican senators and congressional members. I mean, like, Republican voters. Like, he's going to listen to you. And it was the big criticism of him, is that, like, oh, we have this new left moving, we have the squad, we have AOC, we have, these exciting new democratic socialists, or then we have the 80-year-old version also in Bernie Sanders, and we got to talk about him at some point today, because the picture of the day had nothing to do with Joe Biden. It was definitely Bernie Sanders. It's like, this is the new Democratic Party, and then Biden came in and was kind of vilified, mostly from, let's face it, our side. Like, no, I'm going to listen to Republicans. I've done that my whole career, and I'm going to do that. And look what it ended up doing. It got him to the White House. So there are certain people who are just lightning rods for dislike, hatred, rage. Hillary Clinton is one of them. Any of the Clintons are. Even Chelsea for a while was. Joe Biden's just not one of those people. Yeah, and that's great.
I agree. He's really kind of, like you said, a career politician. And I think it takes a certain type of person to be in politics and be as successful as he has been for the last 47 years. And whether you think he's successful or not, a lot of people say, oh, he's been a failure. What has he done over 47 years? He's remained in office for 47 years.
Yes,
and not just reelected.
That's just people not doing research. That's just people not doing research too.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying. So people say, whatever. He's been good enough to stay where he's at for 47 years. So he must know something. So he knows, like you said, he knows how to reach across the aisle. He knows how to, make deals happen. He's not trying to, be the president of one party. He's the president of everybody. But I do want to say this, is that in the normal world, that sounds great. It sounds like this is a guy that, could be the president for everybody, and we wouldn't find a single thing to harp on him about. but we don't exist in the real world anymore, at least not right now. Reality has been suspended for the last 4 or 5 years. We've had people who literally believed, Zach, until 11:59 today, that President Trump was still going to remain the president of the United States.
But
they believed that the military at 12 o'clock was going to turn and point their guns at Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, and martial law was going to ensue, and they were going to take over the government.
But those beliefs will, I think, taper off and disappear. There will always be a contingency. Just with any internet fueled message board belief, there's going to be people who cling to it forever. But I think they'll become so small and so inconsequential that and so foolish sounding that they'll be the new 9/11 truthers. They'll be the ones who still have that DVD copy of Loose Change, who are still talking about thermite, who show up at Jesse Ventura events, and now are just they're not even fun to mock anymore because they're so irrelevant and small.
It's sad, but I don't know about how small it is. I don't know. Let me just say
not now. It's not
by saying this,
but it will shrink
because I'm seeing people who I thought were mainstream people, like soccer moms, like the guy next door, like Mom and Jim, that own the feed store down the block, and the CEO of the small construction company. They bought into this thing. They bought into it hook, line, and sinker, and regurgitated it and believed it up until the very last minute. Like, there's a plan. There's a plan, and it's going to take place. And the deep state has no idea what's coming. We're going to release the Kraken. Trust the plan. Like,
can I be honest with you, Terry? I'm very close with someone who fell down that rabbit hole for a while. And a lot of it was due to no interpersonal interaction whatsoever. It was during the lockdown, and you have these feelings of loneliness and desperation and time on your hands, and no one to really just grab you by the shoulders and be like, what the hell are you doing? And fortunately, they've gotten themselves out of that rabbit hole, which a lot of people haven't. But this is a kind and loving and wonderful person, and fortunately is that person again. But there was just something about 2020 and the isolation and the muddled response by the government, and just a lot of the anger, and that led to a lot of people believing in things they would not otherwise believe. This is someone who would absolutely even mock the 9/11 truthers or anybody who believes something crazy about conspiracies, that fell into it for a little while. And I feel fortunate that I got to pick their brain about it a little bit, because it's made me a little bit, I'll never say empathetic because it's still batshit crazy to me, but a little more sympathetic, because let me make this connection. I listened to a podcast. How goddamn annoying is that sentence?
I heard it on the podcast.
Yeah, but I did, and it was a podcast called Guru, and it was about this. The guru's name was James Ray, and well, I never could. At some point, there's this break that people make that I'll never understand. That's when they just suddenly live on the moon to me. But it hasn't been explained to me enough that desperation and listlessness and a lack of sense of purpose and hope will make people cling to sometimes the most extreme and ugliest of ideas. And if we can somehow reinstill this sense of purpose and the sense of togetherness, and then I again, there's some people who will never leave the QAnon message boards and everything, but they will become so small and irrelevant that I don't even think Newsmax will bother covering them anymore. OAN won't bother covering them anymore.
Yeah,
it'll be that silly.
Yeah. So, the reason why I said is because I alluded to it earlier that I was up at 2:00 in the morning and I couldn't sleep, And here's what was going on with me at 2:00 in the morning. It's like I went down the rabbit hole for a minute.
Mhm.
So yeah, so somebody had sent me a TikTok link, right? And there was a link about this, that, and the other, some kind of conspiracy thing, right? And even me, someone who has, you know, I study political science at the University of Washington. I've been involved in this process and watching it since I was 16, voted since I was 18. I know how the wheels turn and where we were at in the process of electing the next president. I started looking at, and so what the TikTok thing is, once you look at one thing, it takes you to the next similar, deeper thing.
Exactly.
And so I started being like, can they? Would they turn their guns on the Biden and Harris? Because they were so certain. They had me thinking that maybe I'm the crazy one.
Do you get it now? Then I'm glad you got that glimpse into it. It happens at 2 a.m. It happens when you're alone, and it starts with not the first thing that you see, but the 6 things that are recommended that you watch after the first thing you see. Now you woke up and you had people around you that love you and are reasonable. A lot of the people who don't have those things woke up and were alone and went immediately back to those same links and then got recommended 6 more links. So hopefully as we emerge from the pandemic, those people will feel less alone, less desperate, and so desperate that they hopefully they never feel again so desperate that that's the only community that they feel like that they can be a part of.
Yeah. Like I said, I saw from people who I thought also were mainstream, relatively normal people.
Yeah.
Like I said, it was like Zach. And again, I know I'm preaching to the choir here, but I just feel like I had to get this off my chest today too. You're like I had a whole diatribe on my page, right, where it was somebody telling me that we all Americans have been slaves since 1871, and we will be free tomorrow, of a euphoria we've never seen before.
Yeah.
And and I'm thinking, what do they know? Where am I a slave at? Am I a slave to the corporations? Am I a slave to the deep state?
Yeah.
What is and then I'm like, I'm not a freaking slave.
Yeah, not in the way the word has been used traditionally in the past.
I'm going crazy here.
Yeah.
Let me watch Morning Joe. I'll be all right.
Yeah. You probably should have stuck with the infomercials.
Yeah.
You don't start thinking that way when you're just looking at
a
slap chop.
How can I get that slap chop in that skillet where nothing sticks to it? I need two of them for the price of one.
Well, let's talk about the day. Let's talk about the inauguration day. We brought up a couple of things. Lady Gaga did a great job with the national anthem, as we knew she would, because she's got the pipes. And then Joe did his thing, his mild mannered, speech, and didn't make enough gaffes that I think even the most cold hearted person who likes to point out his stutter or his potential dementia would even bother addressing it. And then we had some new people join the fray, and one new person is someone who's very famous, but was introduced to the country in a very new way. But before we get to him, let's talk about Amanda Gorman, who is a poet. And I'll admit, Terry, just because of I am so disinclined to enjoy any poem ever. When she started reading her poem, I sort of spaced out.
Yeah.
And kind of sort of listened a little bit towards the end, but then listened to her on she's the nation's poet laureate. And if you pretend that you know this, you knew that before today, you're a goddamn liar. Liar. But if you listen to it, and I recommend you do, if you listen to it and there's plenty of just isolated videos of it, listen to it on your headphones. I feel like it's a headphone listen. because poetry is like it's not a great milieu for a poem, but damn was it good, and chock full of Hamilton references, which I'm all about.
Yeah.
And yeah, she is and did something I can't believe. She got America talking about poetry today. That is a feat in and of itself.
I'm telling you. I mean, hey, it's the pandemic. People are looking for new hobbies, right? You want to be cutting edge and hip. So hey, now we're all gonna be.
Amanda Gorman, like there's going to be so many just people with that Black Lives Matter, water is life, no lives are illegal fucking sign in their front yard that are now just going to have like this Amanda Gorman book, definitely like just hanging out on their coffee table.
They're going to be they're going to be dropping Amanda Gorman quotes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Like, oh, did you hear the latest from Amanda?
But it was a really spectacular poem. And I had read her before, but I don't want to make it sound like I'm an educated person. It was totally by happenstance. I had no idea that she was the poet laureate or that we still even did that. But yeah, she is an absolute star as of today. In fact, I feel like more people were talking about her time at the podium than anybody else's.
I think so.
And then Kamala Harris and Mike Pence took over what normally happens between the presidents, where you kind of watch one get into a helicopter and fly away. But obviously, Trump wasn't able to make it.
He wasn't able to.
He wasn't able. Hey, I wasn't able to make it either.
Prior engagement, he couldn't make it.
Would you have gone if you were him? Like it is kind of like there's no way in hell that I would have gone if I were him.
Trump was busy. He couldn't get to his last day of work.
It would be boring as hell for him.
I listen, man. I get it. I know, why Trump didn't go, but you would have to think like, dude, you were the most powerful man on the planet. You lost fair and square. There's been a tradition where every single president in the history of presidents has done this.
Yeah.
And
well, maybe.
Come and just literally wreck shop on every norm.
Then why break stride? Why break stride for the last thing? So instead of him, it was Kamala and Mike Pence. So they appear at the top of the steps. And so much of today's visually reminds me of the end of so many different Star Wars movies, where it's just like people standing there sort of dignified, like, yeah, with the admiring throngs around them. And then they walked down the steps and had, probably like 60 seconds of small talk. And then Mike Pence, this is something that's been just eating at me all day. Mike Pence said something hilarious. And I don't know what it is, but that there's this, they know that the world is watching them. There's all these different photo ops. Kamala and her husband, whose name I will never know. I keep forgetting it.
Kamala's husband.
Kamala's husband. Yeah.
His name
it's really it. It doesn't matter.
Kamala's husband.
Stedman. Why don't we just start calling him Stedman?
The Stedman of politics.
He's just Stedman, yeah. Both like bellowed with a laugh to the point where you do that sort of laugh and you kind of like almost like curtsy, like you bend over a little bit. Mm-hmm. What if it turns out like Mike Pence is like this amazing, dynamic, hilarious, potential, dude. Yeah, right. Yeah. And had to play this, because he won governor of Indiana. Indiana is where they sue people for not making gay pizza or something. Had to like play that role for a while, but like actually is this hysterically fun. Like I know the best laugh I've ever gotten out of someone. I made Ken Burns laugh once, and I'm like, I lived off that moment for like a month, because he just doesn't strike me as the type of guy who laughs. Uh-huh. And then also like he's a learned person, and I made him laugh, and I could tell it was genuine because I can tell.
Right.
But if I made Kamala Harris and Stedman laugh, like that must have been a solid joke, because she strikes me as the person that definitely would just stone face you if she's not amused.
Oh Yeah, I don't think Kamala is the kind to give courtesy laughs. I don't think she's the kind to play around with. I think if something is genuinely funny, she's probably going to go ahead and crack up at it.
Yeah.
I got all kind of conspiracy theories, man. Yeah, he may be very funny, but I've always from day one, like from the moment they put Pence and Trump together as a ticket, I was like, this is like worse than the Odd Couple. This is worse than, like these guys are diametrically opposed to each other,
right,
in every single possible way you could imagine. You got the vice president who is not allowed to be alone with women at all. And the other one who's just like, whatever, let's let it fly. Woo, woo,
but here's the thing. Let's start rethinking that, Terry. Let's look now at the post-Kamala laugh. Maybe he's not allowed to be with women because that dude is a fucking dynamo. And like
he can't control himself.
It's something he can't control himself. The women can't control themselves. They're just it's like mid-70s Bowie. Like women just throw themselves at him. So his wife's like, no, this is nothing to do with God or anything. I just see the way everybody looks at you. And with your natural charm and sort of maybe silver foxy for a politician. She's not ugly for a politician anyway. I mean, you compare him, look at him and then next to Mitch McConnell or Chuck Schumer, like he's handsome as
he's
hell.
Definitely good looking.
It's very good looking. So maybe that was a solid policy.
It could be.
Yeah.
But I mean, at the end of the day, my whole point with that was like, they're diametrically opposed to each other. He had to play second fiddle to somebody who he knew was clearly, despite what you might think of Pence's politics, clearly inferior to him when it came to, just knowledge, understanding the system of governance, understanding how things work up there, and just period.
And I get it.
You had to subordinate yourself to that for all.
I totally get it. Because I used to host Cairo Nights with a guy like that, who I just had to like pretend to respect, but knew was just a stupid person. So I get but I stuck around. I had to stick around.
Yeah,
but now he's free. And. Maybe Pence is the real G in this system. Like he's an OG.
Maybe that's what it was. They were like they had a moment together.
Yeah.
And again, if you paid any attention to anything over the last, year and a half, 2 years, while this whole campaign was going on, they were like at each other's, like allegedly they couldn't talk to each other. They weren't friends.
Yeah.
They weren't trying. Trump cut everything off when it was official. Like, do not give them any information. Don't help them out. Nothing. Right. So maybe they were just there and they looked at each other and he was like, I'm so glad to be out of that shit. Like, God.
Yeah, think about it. He's going back to Indiana and still probably like psyched.
Like, I can't wait.
And, Indianapolis is a lovely city. Indiana, though, is as forgettable as any place could possibly be. But Pence is like, oh my God, I can't believe I finally get to go back to Indiana. Let's talk about someone from quite a lovely state, though, and that's Bernie Sanders. Vermont is wonderful.
Never been.
Almost annoyingly so. It's just so quaint.
It just reminds me of like a poetry book. Like I've never been to Vermont, but I just imagine like.
Vermont is like the state. It's like if a state embodied a very satisfied sip of tea, the way that you just sip it and just go, that's like Vermont. That's just, yeah.
Like,
but
life's trails and trees with all the colors and just beautiful,
lovely.
like wildlife.
Yeah, they have exactly. Yeah, their cheese is amazing. Their apples are amazing. Their senator is pretty great. But Bernie today is my favorite photo in so long. If you haven't seen it, just look up Bernie Sanders inauguration. He is sitting in what looks like one of those like metal lawn chairs that you unfold that always squeak from day one when you buy it. So he's sitting there and he looks miserable, but he always looks miserable.
Yes.
He's the Senate's Larry David. And also is dressed like it is -4 degrees outside. Like he's dressed like Shackleton in Antarctica. And it is
He
the
has
best.
the multicolored mittens on.
He has mittens on.
Mittens, not gloves. This man had on some mittens. And it was just like,
Yeah.
like it was just so I saw somebody put on social media today that Bernie looked like he stopped at the inauguration on his way running errands.
Yeah. Basically.
Like, I gotta stop at the flea market, I gotta get to the post office, and I'll hit this
inauguration. Yeah. That's traffic. Oh, traffic's gonna be a nightmare on the way out of here.
Terrible.
A nightmare.
I should leave now. I should probably leave now.
And that, again, Amanda Gorman, Bernie Sanders, both trending today ahead of Joe Biden. And that's awesome. Again, that's awesome. I love that. I love that.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm just that today there was nothing he said that was, I'm talking about Joe again, Uncle Joe. There's I didn't see or pick up on one line that could be spun into anything worth talking about in terms of like, those groups of pundits that just eviscerate him because, again, that's what they're paid to do. There was nothing there. And that's so beautiful. That's such a beautiful thing to me, that he is too dull to inspire hate.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you. So I'm 100% with you there. I hope it continues, but I hope they continue to do good stuff. Something else that happened today, shortly following the inauguration, they had their very first White House press briefing.
Mm-hmm.
And something like, again, I sat in the car listening to this press briefing. First White House press briefing we've had in how long? Months and months and months and months. And to even going back to when they had press briefings, for the past 4 years, they've been absolutely a shit show. Like, from what was the first guy's name?
Sean Spicer. Sean Spicer.
They had was Scaramucci one at one point
for 10 days.
For 10 days, Scaramucci and your girl
Kayla McNerney.
Yeah.
Kayla, I don't. Yeah. Oh, and what's her name? Kellyanne Conway.
It was just,
I think, ran them for a while.
Yeah, whatever it's been. So to hear this girl today, the woman, name is, I think, Jen Psaki, it was weird to listen to, because like for and again, this made me think. Sometimes I play my own devil's advocate because there's nobody else there to play it for me. I'm thinking, was the press really against these people? Like, was the left-wing media bias there? In the mainstream media, fake news, were they really harping on these people for the last 4 years? And I was like, no, these people showed up to the press briefings and they were just assholes. I mean, every single one of them, they were just like barking at the reporters and then being jerks to them, like every single time.
We have the phrase, I mean, it was very early on in the administration, the alternative facts phrase came out.
Yes.
So it was pretty clear the direction they were going to go in.
I mean, it was pretty obvious they were enemies of the media, and the media was made to be the scapegoat. And I think that was all part in hindsight. And we're doing hindsight, and we're not even like 10 hours removed from a president. But hindsight, looking at it, I think that was all part of the plan. And
of course it was.
I mean, you wanted, historically, your press briefings where we get the word from the president. You are speaking on behalf of the president to the people. We are expecting the truth and the honest what's going on. And their job for the past 4 years has been to strictly lie to us.
Yeah.
Day after day after day. So today we got the first press briefing, and again, it was boring as hell.
So boring.
It was boring. It was so boring. But I was so excited. Like, oh my
Great.
God, this is so normal.
Just a nice, sleepy first term.
Oh my God, like, oh, we're gonna do this with the vaccine. Our goal is to do this. We want to try to get back in the Paris Accords and do stuff about the climate. And
Yeah.
it was the Rocket Man, if he raises his finger one time, we're gonna turn North Korea into dust. And what?
Yeah.
So
yeah, it'll be an the word that I hope for is just an uneventful first term. He just quietly gets things done and just inspires no one. That's fine. Like I don't want
business.
There's going to be no hope and change, audacity of hope, Barack Obama type. No one's going to feel that way about Joe Biden.
Yeah.
Jill Biden doesn't feel that way about Joe Biden. It's just nobody loves him that way.
No, and it's crazy because the thing is about Joe, as uninspiring as he might be, I think he is probably like the most trustworthy person you could. When you think about Joe Biden, you're like, I would trust that guy, like to watch like my house, like to watch my belongings and to do the right thing. Like, yeah. I think Joe would do the right thing in 10 out of 10 situations. Like, I
think he'd try to do the right thing. Yeah, absolutely.
Like he would like bumble his way through it, but his intentions would be to do the right thing.
Right.
I don't give
decency is dull.
Yeah.
Decency is not at all interesting when you're trying to be provocative on something. If someone is just honest to God trying to do what's right in a very even-handed way, the way that I think that Joe will do, there's not many fun headlines, as again evidenced by something we referenced last night. The scandal thus far, his first presidential scandal, is that he might be bringing a Peloton into the White House.
Yeah,
that's it.
Of all things, yeah, he wants to get exercising, stay in shape.
Yeah,
70 years old.
Yeah. So I like today, and I know yesterday I was kind of upset about the thought, not upset, but just wondering whether or not some of these rituals that we do as in terms of handing over leadership from one administration to the other are really necessary. And they're not necessary, but today was nice.
Yeah.
It was a nice day. You'd have to have some actual permanent darkness in your heart and I'm almost going to quote Lindsey Graham here. Because Lindsey Graham once said about Joe Biden, like, if you don't like Joe Biden, you're the problem. Something's wrong with you.
I agree.
Yeah.
And there are going to be some people who are going to try to manufacture fake hate and fake rage for Joe. They already have. The one lady that's in Congress has said she's already going to file articles of impeachment.
That's great.
Biden before he even...
Which should be so quickly marginalized. Go ahead, do all the reactionaries. Let's get that out of your system. So by April, you either you don't exist as someone who holds elected office anymore, or you're clearly you've become the new Ron Paul. Like a very, very small but maybe devoted group of people like you, but no one else is really listening to you.
Hopefully that'll be where a lot of these people are going with the careers, the ones that are just diehard gung-ho, oppose Biden at every turn. Yeah. I'm gonna tell you something, Zach, that another byproduct of this that I'm looking forward to. And it's really weird. I'm almost ashamed to say this. And maybe you could tell me if you feel the same way or if I'm crazy for feeling this way. I feel like for the past 4 years, the American flag has been hijacked. I feel like the American flag has been hijacked and used as like, this is our flag. This is our country. And that's why I live way out here in the country. And so when you see the big trucks, it would be a Trump flag and an American flag. And I felt like they were doing that to kind of rub it in the rest of our faces. Like, this is our country. And so I'm wondering now if it's going to be reversed, because I'm like, okay, I need to go get an American flag now. Not that I'm more proud to be an American today, but I just feel like that a lot of those people, now that there's a new administration in that they are not so gung-ho about, they're not so hyped on the flag at this moment.
True. Flags are so silly to me anyway.
They are.
It's such a weird, silly thing to me. Flags and anthems, like why we, and our anthem stinks.
Yeah,
it's just tonally as a song. I've said this a million times. I've probably bored people with it, but I just think our national, there are anthems for countries that I know nothing about, but I feel myself like welling up with tears, like, Jesus, no wonder people live in Norway. Yeah. I mean, oh Canada rules. Like, as the song, you would think Canada had done a lot more than Canada has actually done.
Oh Canada was the first national anthem I learned, so
it's a great song. And ours actually has like 4 verses, which nobody knows,
that we don't sing.
We don't sing. It would be 12 minutes long.
It's good reason that we don't sing.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, there's some language. Yeah. And about a war that no one knows a goddamn thing about too.
There's that.
Yeah, from the War of 1812. Again, if you pretend that you know anything about the War of 1812, you're going to pretend you knew who Amanda Gorman was before today.
And she was the poet laureate.
Poet laureate. Yeah. Name any other poet laureate. Yeah. Without Googling it.
I know, man.
So, are you going to be up? What's bedtime tonight then? Are you back to your normal sleep schedule? You think?
I think I'm going to try to, because I'm tired because it was a long day, and that's the other thing I want to talk to you about before we get out of here, Zach. Is that, you know, the culmination of the conversation of today in the inauguration. Damn it, I keep screwing that word up. But the culmination of it all.
It sounds right to me the way you're saying it.
Yeah, I know. You know why I'm messing it in my mind is because I just heard my kids screw it up like 10 times, and I was I was correcting her, and now I'm saying, and I feel like I'm saying it right. But anyways, so it was a long day for me, man. I feel like, it was a lot of things that I had to take in, a lot of emotions I kind of dealt with, the change, and I've been up since 2:00. I was looking at Joe Biden just before I came on. They were starting the evening ceremonies of this, this festive day. And I was thinking to myself, as I was looking at Joe Biden up there, I was like, he gotta be so damn tired right now. He's gotta be so tired. Like, you know how long this day had to be for him? Like, to wake up early and get dressed, and then get down to the church. And
dude, I've put together a piece of IKEA furniture and then taken like a week off. Like, the energy levels of these people,
like
anybody who's running for a federal office, yeah.
So we went to the church, then went to the whole ceremony, got sworn in, blah blah blah. Then did the procession, up and down the stairs with the Capitol. Did a little. You see him jog?
Yeah.
To talk to the reporters. Hey.
It was adorable.
And then, and then went into the White House and then started signing executive orders. Did another press conference. Dude, you know how hard he's gonna sleep tonight?
Yeah. But he's up at he'll be up at 4 a.m. the way that people his age are up at 4 a.m. Like, not because he's like ready to go meet the day. It's just he's 80, he's 78. He's up and he wants, normally if you were a regular person, he'd be at Denny's. But he's the president. He'll have Denny's brought to him.
He'll have 1 poached egg, 5 almonds, a piece of toast, dry.
He uses his cell phone primarily as a tip calculator. Yeah, he's an old guy who's going to, I hope, settle into old guy type rituals. Like, if we hear a tweet from him past 5 p.m., I hope it's about like NCIS or something. Like I just, and that'll be the latest that we hear from Joe Biden. He'll do old dude stuff.
Yeah. If he uses Twitter like more than once or twice a month, it's not him.
No, it's going to be back to the way we're used to, where some intern is writing his tweets, and they're poured over for a few hours. They're scheduled. They're boring again, and that's
super
fine.
Boring. Like nothing of nobody's going to get called a name. There's not going to be any world event. No. There's not going to be any challenging of anybody. There's not going to be a retweet from some far left wing nut job. Like Joe Biden just retweeted some crazy conspiracy theory. Like, can you imagine?
Yeah, I can't imagine that.
Posting Bigfoot videos.
It's the thought of the rest of the world being like, what's going on with America? They're so dull these days. Please. Or don't even think of us at all. Don't even. That sounds great. Let's just become the wallflower of superpowers for a little bit.
Can we be Greenland for a little while? Let's be Greenland or New Zealand or something.
We're someone in France is like, I have no idea what's happening in America right now, instead of it being the lead story. That all sounds wonderful.
Yeah. We'll see where it takes us, man. I'm excited.
Now we can just comfortably focus on, playoff football for a little bit.
Yeah, since none of my teams are in it, I'm good.
Oh, well, that's true. The Seahawks did exactly what I thought the Seahawks would do. I hope. Can we just talk about the Seahawks for a second? Because that let Russ cook shit that was happening in the beginning of the year was so goddamn annoying to me. And it is definitely one of those one and done phrases that I don't think people are going to bring back next year.
If he would have ended the season the way he kind of started the season, the Seahawks would have went through the playoffs, it would have stuck. It was an intricate. That's the thing about. It's sad to say, but it's really our whole world right now. Everything is marketing. Everything is all about how you market and sell something. So that was an elaborate marketing scheme. They were selling Russell Wilson shirts. They had the apron. They had the hats. Let Russ cook.
But it was just so annoying seeing so many different sports writers and Seattle homers just retweet it and adopt it and everything. Where I have to say now, Terry, I've never rooted harder for Tom Brady. And it's not because I have spent my whole life hating Tom Brady the way you hate sports figures.
Right.
I'm sure he was here.
On him, but
exactly.
Too much.
But just for the sake of a 43-year-old winning, it sounds great. That would make me feel good, because not that I'm dealing with mortality issues, but I ran the fastest I've run today in probably 6 months, and I did 5.6 miles per hour. That is not fast.
That's a good clip of a jog.
Yeah, it was a jog. It wasn't a run. It was a jog. So to know
why do you need to run fast?
I don't know. Why is Tom Brady need to win more Super Bowls? Because it would remind me of a time when I used to do 5-minute miles. If I could get closer and faster to that. So I am now going to root for the oldest quarterback left. And Tom Brady is twice Josh Allen's age, twice Pat Mahomes' age. Aaron Rodgers, I know, is getting up there too. But
Aaron is, he's so.
But I am in my 2021. In my ideal 2021, Tom Brady is a Super Bowl champion, and I'm actually happy about it. That would be a weird turning of the page for me.
You know what? It's crazy. So there's a couple of reasons why I'm kind of rooting for Tom Brady, and I always say the same thing too. I hate Tom Brady. It's because he had everything, and I didn't really hate him. I as a guy who played football my entire life, I respect the hell out of Tom Brady. He's one of the best. So my best friend played with Tom Brady. They're very good friends, and he tells me, he will tell you, he's like, Tom Brady is the GOAT. He's the best.
Yeah,
he's proven it over and over. It's not even close to a competition anymore. No. other than the fact that he's 43 years old, I just think it is completely awesome that he decided to leave the Patriots.
Yeah.
And, for so many years, people who are football, quote unquote, experts and critics said Tom Brady, can't do it without his coach Belichick. He can't do it without that system. Tom Brady is a system quarterback, and this is the reason why they win. They keep plugging in place and doing these things and calling these plays that accentuate him. And he was like, okay, I'm 43. I'm going to take my talents down to Tampa, a team that,
no playoffs since 2002.
Exactly. And they had no promise of going to one. Their quarterback was Jameis Winston, who, he's had issues. Let's just say that.
He stole Alaskan king crabs. Like, that'll be for whatever I know him for.
Did some other things, but
yeah. Oh yeah.
He went down there, and now the Patriots didn't make it to the playoffs, and Tom Brady is potentially going to play for another Super Bowl without them. So
it's fun.
It's a great storyline.
It is. Welcome America, and welcome Terry into the 46th president of the United States of America. It's day one, and I have to say, I'm so bored by it, and I'm so happy to be bored. It's fun.
Good thing. It's a good thing to be bored, ladies and gentlemen. I promise you, it's better than the alternative.
It is, but we live into anarchist jurisdiction, so we'll never be bored, Terry, because there's always lots of stuff going on here.
It's crazy, right outside my window right now.
Totally. All right, dude. Well, have a great rest of your week, and we'll connect again on next Tuesday.
Yes, sir. Let's do it.
Thanks, everybody, for watching. Click the share button. Subscribe to us. I put this podcast up as soon as the show is over. So if you just want to listen to us again in audio form and not have to look at us, I understand. Please do that. YouTube.com/Burns and Holla. And thanks, everybody. We appreciate it.
Sure. Love you guys. Peace
Talk
out.
to you soon, Terry. See ya.